All right, hello everybody. Good evening and welcome into a Friday edition of KC Sports Tonight. I am Mark Poulose, joined by Gabe Swartz as we break down a big and newsworthy Friday here in the middle of the Kansas City sports scene. So we're going to talk about the big news of the day here in Kansas City. Jackson County Interim Executive Phil Lavoda has introduced Operation Save Arrowhead. It's a new sales tax that he's going to try to get through. That's going to start in 2031. A quarter-cent sales tax to keep the Chiefs only, Chiefs specifically, in the state of Missouri. We're joined now by Gabe Swartz, who wrote an excellent article for our website about this. Gabe, big picture-wise, catch up the people. Operation Save Arrowhead. What do they need to know about what happened today?
Yeah, well, Phil Lavoda, the interim county executive in Jackson County, came out today. He admitted as such that this wasn't necessarily in the plans to happen in 2025, that he was thinking that this plan was going to come out in January, but given the rumblings, I guess, of yesterday, the social media chatter that people believe that the Chiefs were near a deal with Kansas, he felt like it was necessary to respond because he said that he felt like Jackson County had been quiet on this front for a while, and so they needed to get their voice heard. Do you have the several of the quotes? I have some of the quotes from yesterday and what was going on in Kansas, but if you want to take the people through Missouri's
the first quote that you have
today
in the web strip is great. Hits the nail on the head from Phil Lavoda. There is simply no more iconic of a facility than Arrowhead Stadium in professional sports. Wanting to keep that here in the state of Missouri. And then I like what Phil said here because it really has to do with a lot of the negotiating here between both the state of Kansas and the state of Missouri to keep these two teams, to attract them to their side of the state line. Lavoda said, depending on which media outlet you listen to, the deal in Kansas is done. Here's what Lavoda said. Big news of the day. I'm here to tell you that it is not. So this is clearly, in my opinion, the state of Kansas is trying to drag this discussion out, this stadium discussion, into the public. And that's something that the state of Missouri, whether they're unified or not, this is something that Missouri does not want to do. Today, Phil Lavoda was talking about how the Chiefs are going to commit $400 million to this project, and there are going to be commitments from both the state of Missouri and the city of Kansas City. But Lavoda did not want to share those numbers because if he shares them with the public, what's he doing there? He's sharing them with his enemy, the state of Kansas, in this. And I want to say Ty Masterson has really tried to take a very public role in all of this. I remember last summer, 2 summers ago, when this was really first coming up, people were asking in the Kansas state legislature, asking Ty Masterson, asking the other big decision makers in the state of Kansas if this would be a violation of the border war truce between the state of Kansas and the state of Missouri. And Ty Masterson, in front of all the cameras, chuckled and said, "I did not sign that piece of paper." So to me, Kansas is trying to drag this out in public. Missouri trying to get this done behind closed doors. Gabe, kind of what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that in a little bit of a sense, Jackson County was a little bit behind and Phil Lavoda, I think that the sentiment that people are seeing of the public belief that it appears to be going toward Kansas is not something that Phil Lavoda had control over because he wasn't in this position to do things under the previous leadership in Jackson County. And he said today, I don't feel like rehashing where Frank White had set this thing up. But with that being said, I think that one of the things that stood out to me about what Lavoda said today was at the very end of things. And he said, I told Mark Donovan this directly. I hope to give you some heartburn. I hope you get some good old Jackson County Harry Truman heartburn about going across the state line to Kansas. And I hope all my Jackson County people help me with that. I don't want this to be an easy thing that the numbers are right in Kansas. I want them to feel it with their heart also. So at this point, even though Phil Lavoda is saying it's not over, it's not done, they are at the point where this new plan, which changes is proposed to change the sales tax that would fund renovations and maintenance, long-term maintenance of Arrowhead from 3/8 cents, which is what they had on the ballot in April 2024 that got voted down, and would change to 1/4 cent. That's what his new proposal was, along with the unshared commitment of Missouri and the unshared commitment of the city of Kansas City. We basically got two of the 4 pieces of the puzzle of what the tax would be, what the Chiefs' commitment would be. We didn't get the other parts. while that is the case, it really does feel like they are backs against the wall and tugging at the this is what Arrowhead is, nostalgia, all of those things, which I think are valuable. I think that you're going to hear from a lot of people, whatever way this ends up going, that Arrowhead is a special place. You've heard it from the Chiefs. You've heard it from Clark Hunt. You've heard it from players. You've heard it from Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, all of these different guys. And that's what, as this settles, whether it remains at Arrowhead or whether they go across state lines, Arrowhead is up there now. It's not Lambeau, but it's in that conversation as one of the older buildings that has history, that has the nostalgia from the fan base. Soldier Field, it's one of the oldest facilities in the NFL, but it has all of this history that's been built specifically as of late, with how much the Chiefs have done of winning recently, and it means a lot to the Hunt family. But does it mean enough to the Hunt family that Clark Hunt is going to pass up on entertainment of all of these different things that could come to Kansas? And the merits of all of that can be debated, but that's where it feels like we're at this point.
Yeah, I think really what big picture news obviously we're approaching the deadline. The state of Kansas, obviously, if both the Chiefs and Royals wanted to have star bonds help fund this, they needed to get something in front of this LCC committee that's headed by Ty Masterson. I think they wanted something by January 1 or December 31st. This is obviously, we're getting closer to that deadline, so we're getting to see some movement. And that movement that we're seeing is exactly what I think Mayor Quentin Lucas said he did not want to see happen with these two teams. Is now we have Kansas and Missouri that are pitted against each other. And what's going to happen for that? They're competing for the same thing. Here comes the arms race of incentives, like which state, which municipality, which county, which all of the above is going to give the Chiefs the most attractive deal. And right now, the wheels are really beginning to turn. Now we see this is Jackson County's first counterpunch to maybe some of the news there out of the state of Kansas from yesterday. But again, none of this is buttoned up. None of this is tied down. But I think Gabe is exactly right. Jackson County and Missouri, the state of Missouri right now, are really feeling the heat, and that's obviously why they probably decided to come out with this just in such short notice after yesterday's news. But I do want to say, guys, as we do keep talking about all of this stadium talk with the Chiefs, they want a lot of public money for this stadium. Gabe, what happened with the Denver Broncos stadium this past year? What did their ownership do?
They moved it to a different part of Denver.
And who's paying for it?
The team.
The team, by themselves,
Yeah.
no public money. So, hey, guys, in this big rivalry matchup between the Chiefs and the Broncos are paying completely for their own stadium from the owners. And I know the Chiefs are asking the public for a lot of money, so that's kind of interesting to me.
Walmart money is
the Walmart money
little different
than
than
big.
what Clark Hunt's got, I guess.
But I do believe Clark Hunt is the second richest owner in the NFL. So, hey, they're trying to get public money, though, for this stadium. Kansas and Missouri both kind of duking it out. We will keep you updated with the latest on all that's going on there. We have Neil Jones, who's covered the Chiefs for 30-plus years. He's tracking this down for us today. And also we have our investigative reporter, Samantha Boring, on this today. So that's what we do here at KCTV5. We break out the big guns for the big stories. Neil Jones, Samantha Boring. You'll see them both at 6 o'clock talking about this at greater length and detail. All right, coming up, though, still dealing with the Chiefs. Travis Kelce met with the media today, speaking for the very first time in a media setting, not his podcast, since obviously the injury to Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes. The big news coming out of today's press conference with Travis is that he did commit to playing the last 3 games of the regular season, and he didn't just commit to just playing. He committed to giving his absolute all to that. I think that was a very good thing for Chiefs fans to hear, because obviously Chiefs fans, it's just been a dark cloud over Kansas City ever since the fourth quarter of Sunday's game when we saw Mahomes go down on the ground. I think everyone is still kind of in a little bit of a state of a funk, kind of wondering if maybe Travis and some of the other veterans on the team would kind of sit out the rest of the season, because the Chiefs don't have anything to play for. They're trying to get a good draft pick. But Travis said he feels some real professional integrity and a professional obligation to finish out this season. Gabe, to me, that was very good to hear, but to me also, this is me kind of reading between the lines. I could be completely wrong about this, but to me, it seems like today he was basically saying, I'm going to play these last 3 games, and it didn't really sound like he's looking forward to the future. What do you think?
Yeah, I got the same takeaway. Specifically, he was asked a question of whether it had crossed his mind that Patrick Mahomes has thrown him his last pass. that he would catch.
He said, "That's crazy, man."
And he paused, and his voice, like the tenor of his voice changed, and he said,
"You are so right when you say this. Keep going." Yeah.
Like he did. I guess we've all heard him speak enough. We've heard him be emotional, whether it's on his podcast, whether it's joyously on the stage of celebrating Super Bowls or AFC championships, all of these different things. We've heard him be on the verge of tears before, and it wasn't like he wasn't getting there, but he was starting there, and then he stopped himself. And he said, so as you pointed out, he said, "Man, that's crazy." Then he said, "I'd rather just keep the focus of the media and everything on this team right now." And to me, that was like we're gonna get there. And this is, it's sad that this is the end of it, of that. And Katie and I talked about this yesterday on the show, or Wednesday on the show, excuse me, that Travis, when he was on his podcast this week, said when Patrick went down, his thought was like, there's no way that's how it happens. And there's no way that, like, and it was speaking of kind of, and it just feels like that he's processing how it ended. And he also spoke to the fact that he didn't speak on Sunday, and how in those moments post-game he walked off the field, he went and he saw Patrick, and he talked to Patrick before Patrick did his MRI. But I'm sure that they knew that the season was over for Patrick, and to a lesser extent, I think Travis, whether he has told Patrick or not, knew kind of where he's at. Because one of the other things he said today was that he feels like he's honored to be able to play through the bruises and the pain of this season, whereas other guys aren't as lucky as him and are going to be out. And we saw the laundry list of names that the Chiefs have said won't play this weekend, whether it's Rashee Rice, Jawan Taylor.
I have them all right here.
We'll
go through them. We have Trent McDuffie out with a knee, Rashee Rice out with a concussion, Jawan Taylor out with an elbow, Jalen Moore, dealing with a knee, linebacker Leo Chenal out with a shoulder, Tyquan Thornton out with a concussion, Derek Nottie out with illness, Najee Johnson working back from injury, still out with a shoulder, and rookie Jake Brenningstool out with a hamstring. But yeah, a lot of guys.
And he said, like, it's an honor that I feel good enough to keep going. And he was asked about what it would mean to him to finish, to be one of the oldest tight ends in NFL history to have 1,000 yards, which he needs 203 over the last 3 weeks. And he said, if I can do those in wins and go out there and win with the guys around me, it'll mean a lot to me. I believe him on that. I don't know how realistic the goal is given the depleted roster that's around him, and how tough it's going to be for Gardner Minshew behind several backups. More backups than starters on the offensive line. But yeah, I'd say that is the thing that Chiefs fans have, I guess, to look forward through over these last 3 games. Is it's probably your last 3 looks at Travis Kelce, barring
something
a
really
significant dip. Either he's either he's just being sly or whatever. But I think that this is the end.
I think we do need to nip in the bud around this Travis Kelce conversation. Is I have seen just kind of after games, like, he has obviously declined to speak to the media, and I think a lot of people not here from Kansas City, maybe in the national scene, kind of think that he's ducking the media, that he's kind of taking an easy way out and not talking after games. And I don't. To me, that's not how I interpret this, because Travis, like, when we talk to him, he is always very, very nice. He's very polite, and I think, in many respects, the reason he declines after games is he understands the gravity of his words. He understands that no matter what he says, it is going to make a gigantic headline, good, bad, or indifferent, and he does not want to put his teammates in a position where if he says something that it's the leadership of Travis Kelce, I think, of wanting the best for the players in that locker room. When he doesn't speak, it's not necessarily that he's trying to show anyone up. It's not necessarily that he's in a bad mood. It's that he understands the power of his words and the position that he's in, obviously with his fiance, and just the magnifying glass that's on him. So I think it's like a little bit with great power comes great responsibility. And when Travis Kelce is not talking after these games, he's exercising some responsibility because he could say something that he would regret. And I think he's often trying to put himself in a position where he does not do that. So when he talks, he's open. He allows us to ask him questions and stuff like that. So I think the national media is really giving Travis some crap for that, and I don't think that they should. But I do think, for me, we'll get off this Travis Kelce right here. But for me, I always kind of was wondering, is he going to come back? Is he going to stay with this team? Because at the end of last season, I thought this was for sure going to be the last year. But then this year, I want to say, entering last week's game, he was number 2 in all of football for receiving yards for a tight end. Like, he was playing at a very productive level, and I was like, boy, he's still kind of doing it. Maybe he will stick around. But then in that Texans game, at the end of the game, when there's the one that kind of bounced off him and there was the interception and he just stared up into the night sky at Arrowhead, that was to me when I saw a guy say, hey, this is where the road ends for me. Like, this is the end of the career. And actions speak louder than words, and that was a huge action that we saw there from Travis Kelce. Obviously, tremendous career here in Kansas City. We cannot thank him enough. Wish him the best, and it will be very cool to see him come back for another season. Travis, hopefully you can come back. But, hey, we all understand how the business of football works. All right, looking ahead to Sunday's game, we'll quickly go through this. We did talk about the injury report. The Chiefs going to be very, very depleted. Cornerback Trent McDuffie out, still dealing with that knee injury. Rashee Rice, Tyquan Thornton, both in concussion protocol, still dealing with that. 2 guys on the offensive line, Jawan Taylor, Jalen Moore, they are out. Linebacker Leo Chenal, he is a tremendous player. I know he's probably not thought of much in this league outside of Kansas City, but he is so key to what they do on defense. He is out. So, hey, Chiefs, though, they're still 3-point favorites on the road at the Tennessee Titans. That's a game you can see on the bottom of our screen right now. 12 p.m., high noon on Sunday right here on KCTV5. We will have a full recap of that game on Sunday night, also on KC Sports tonight. All right, now looking ahead to college football. We got about 15 minutes left here in the show. We're going to start here with Missouri running back Ahmad Hardy. If this is not a kind of a show and tell of today's day and age of college football, I don't know what is. This afternoon, the University of Missouri football team released a graphic on Twitter announcing that running back Ahmad Hardy has re-signed with the Missouri Tigers for next season. Hardy, obviously a transfer running back from Louisiana Monroe. He was a Doak Walker Award finalist. That is an award given out to the best running back in all of college football. He is a superstar in the world of college football. He ran for 1,560 yards this year, 16 touchdowns. He is 67 yards away from breaking Cody Schrader's school record for a single season rushing attack. So, Gabe, I had no idea that Ahmad Hardy was going to be this good. I think he's one of the best running backs in America again next year. How important was it for Missouri in this day and age? I know there's tampering going on. We know Coach Drink said every player on his roster was being called. How important was it for them to keep Ahmad Hardy, especially in light of Prbula transferring and Matt Zoller's likely the starting quarterback next year?
Yeah, I mean, you lose your quarterback. You lose 4 or 5 of your top wide receivers based on either entering the portal or losing their eligibility, just exhausting it through the end of their career. This is the one guy that they have had an overwhelming amount of success with this season. They've had an overwhelming amount of success running the football as of late. So I think that you could say, you know what, I believe in Mizzou finding a solid running back. Cody Schrader was one of those guys you didn't necessarily think was going to be unbelievable. He was unbelievable at Mizzou. Ahmad Hardy joins him as the most recent first-team All-American because it was him and Jeremiah Love, and Jeremiah Love is the only reason that Ahmad Hardy probably didn't win the Doak Walker Award.
Hey, if you switch the uniforms on those two players, Ahmad Hardy is a Heisman finalist, and Ahmad Hardy wins the Doak Walker Award.
You think so?
I'm looking at what happened on the field of play. I know Jeremiah Love was he was a Heisman finalist.
Sounds like a Miami guy.
He played one. All right, that's exactly where I was going. How many yards did Jeremiah Love have against the Miami Hurricanes? 33 yards. Ahmad Hardy didn't have a game like that. And when Ahmad Hardy played against good competition, Ahmad Hardy had 500-yard games in the SEC. He had a 300-yard rushing game in the SEC. If you put that gold helmet on him, you give him a Notre Dame jersey, this guy might win the Heisman. This guy is a shoo-in for the Doak Walker Award. Ahmad Hardy was criminally underrated this year.
I didn't realize that we were going to get the soapbox mark.
Hey, college football gets me fired up.
I do agree he's extremely valuable. And this is another thing where it's like you don't always know what you're getting in the transfer portal. I think Mizzou thought that they had a really good addition. I don't know if they thought that they had one of the 3 best running backs in college football.
Yeah, the coach Drink even talked about that this year.
When they got him from Louisiana Monroe, because sometimes those small school guys come up and it looks completely different. And another team that you'll see this weekend in the college football playoff, Oregon, they went out and they signed a kid from Tulane this offseason, and there was buzz that he was going to be one of their best players.
On the depth chart.
And he doesn't play at all. So
I think he's $1 million player at least. I think he's like the RB4 at Oregon.
And now he's back in the transfer portal looking for somewhere else. So hopefully I'm excited to see what Ahmad Hardy looks like next year for Mizzou. Still has got the Gator Bowl against Virginia and has a chance to go and break that record that you mentioned. So big for Mizzou. And, yeah, as you mentioned, sign of the times. Today it was Mizzou saying that Ahmad Hardy had re-signed. Yesterday I saw a graphic from Texas A&M where they said that they re-signed a wide receiver to
the highest paid
wide receiver in school history. I'd love to know what Mike Evans was making under the table 13 years ago. But
yeah, what about Johnny Football? Yeah, that'd be quite the discussion to have. But, hey, they were really good under Kevin Sumlin. But, hey, speaking of those Texas A&M Aggies, we're going to look ahead to the college football playoff because that kicks off this weekend. Actually, coming up very soon, the Neil Jones School, the Oklahoma Sooners, are going to host the 9th-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide in a matchup down there at Oklahoma. And then tomorrow, this is a game I think that a lot of local college football fans are going to be watching. Number 10 Miami at number 7 Texas A&M. Now on the surface that might sound like a wild conversation thing to say, but the thing is we all know Texas A&M's offensive coordinator, former K-State quarterback Colin Klein, going to be K-State's future head coach in Colin Klein. I think this is going to be an opportunity for maybe a lot of fans that didn't watch a lot of Texas A&M this year to see kind of what Colin Klein is obviously going to try to be bringing to Kansas State. I've been obviously I'm a University of Miami alum, so I've been doing some research on this game. Gabe, what kind of stands out to me about Texas A&M is they don't necessarily hit you with like 4 yards every play, but this team can be very, very explosive. What do you kind of think? You obviously saw Colin Klein be an OC at Kansas State, so maybe for some fans that don't know about Colin Klein, what do you think about his offense?
Well, he's had success offensively with different styles of quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
Marcel Reed can really run it. He's not a bad passer at all, but he is a dual threat guy. At K-State, he had success with Will Howard, who could run the ball again, but was more of like a bruising runner than an open field sprinter.
Yeah, Will Howard's a big guy. 6'4", 6'5". He's a big guy.
And Adrian Martinez, excuse me, was more of a mobile guy as well. So he's had different quarterbacks and had tons of success, and you saw the drop-off in points per game for K-State when he was not there. I think locally the debate that you and I need to be having about this game is if you are a K-State fan, I've seen conversations on Twitter today about whether you want A&M to win or not, because some people would say A&M wins, A&M scores points. People see what Colin Klein is cooking up and they say, "Oh, I want that guy to coach me." Other people would say, "I want A&M to have offensive success, but I want them to lose so that Colin Klein can stop having to stand in College Station every week and do press conferences and coach games, and he can start to formulate a roster, because every other time I open Twitter, it's a different K-State kid entering the transfer portal." And obviously that's a little bit of the new college football calendar where all of these guys are spending December saying they're going in the portal, and there's no new additions. There's just either
there's just departures at this point.
It's either Ahmad Hardy re-signing or it's guys going to the portal. Where do you think K-State fans should be on? Do you want Colin Klein to keep winning and looking good and
I love
representing, or do you want him done and get to Manhattan ASAP, dude?
No, if you're a Kansas State football fan, there is a very clear and very obvious answer, and you want Texas A&M to lose on Saturday, and you want Colin Klein to get to Manhattan, Kansas, and devote his entire attention to that K-State Wildcat football program as soon as possible. Because right now, Colin Klein is having to serve two universities, Kansas State University and Texas A&M. And there's a very old phrase, a man cannot serve two masters, and that is exactly what Colin Klein is. You cannot. football is a sport where you have to be 10 toes deep in the ground where you are at. So much of this is about relationships, and so much about this. I mean, you're asking football players to go out there and put their physical well-being on the line. There are people that have career-ending injuries every season in the game of football. If you're going to go ask them out there and ask them to do the things on the football field that are necessary to win a college football game, let alone a college football playoff game, you want your coaches and everyone in that organization to be all in. So Texas A&M in a little bit of a tough situation now because offensive coordinator Colin Klein moving on to Kansas State. Their defensive coordinator is moving on to another program in the SEC where he's going to get the opportunity to call plays. So both coordinators there for Texas A&M have one foot out the door. And in college football, you got to have both feet where you are. We're going to see what happens there. But I think, hey, a lot of college football fans, you want to see what Colin Klein wants to bring to Kansas State University. Watch that game tomorrow morning, 11 a.m., and hopefully you guys will all get to see a Miami Hurricanes victory. All right.
I'm rooting for you.
Yeah,
I don't want you to have to experience the college football playoff pain that I did last year.
That's the epitome of brutality. That was a tough one out there for the Sun Devils. But, hey, winner of that game goes to take on Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl out there in Dallas. That should be good. College football, it is so good. All right, we got one more topic to talk about today. The Royals today brought back an old friend actually to their bullpen. It's a guy they drafted more than a decade ago, but he has spent parts of seasons all over the big leagues, but it's 34-year-old Matt Strahm coming back to the Royals in a trade for reliever Jonathan Bolin. Matt Strahm, 66 games last year, a 2.74 ERA. Now, Gabe, we all know the Royals, when they really have been at the peak of their powers in the last, times they've won, they have had obviously an elite bullpen. Next year with Matt Strahm, to me, this bullpen's going to be crazy. Can you maybe talk the viewers through who we're going to see there in that back end? And when we have the Royals, I should say, have Matt Strahm, what are Kansas City sports fans going to see?
I just think that overall the pitching staff is really good. They still haven't traded any of their starting pitching for a bat, and that was kind of the thing that people expected them to do all offseason. Still hasn't happened. We'll see if it does. I think there's still plenty of time for it to happen. Moves get made until February in baseball, so who knows. But the bullpen at this point, you've got Estevez still, you've got Urseg still, you've got Matt Strahm as a lefty specialist. I think that's a clear and obvious upgrade if he looks like the Philadelphia version of himself over what the Royals were getting out of Angel Zerpa, who they just traded the Brewers. You've got Steven Cruz, who, when healthy, was really productive and throwing hard heat for the Royals. The bullpen, top to bottom, is pretty solid, pretty deep. Daniel Lynch is a guy who probably is a
great call
innings eater, not necessarily a high leverage guy, but just a really quality guy who they've used in bullpen days. And I'm sure that we're going to hear more about it because our good friend Katie Marr is out talking to Noah Cameron this evening. So I really like the process of what the Royals general manager, J.J. Piccolo, is doing. The Garcia signing makes a lot of sense. The Isaac Collins, Nick Mears trade for Zerpa with the Brewers makes sense. Strahm for Bolin makes sense for what you're building. We'll see what the results are again next year, but it feels like really good process this offseason for Kansas City.
I could not agree more. I think with the way that the Royals have to operate within the, within the rules of baseball, just with the way that it's set up, these are the moves that they're going to have to make. Now, is this a big, oh my gosh, we have to lead the newscast, the Royals traded for Matt Strahm? No, but this is a move that makes their bullpen. I mean, the bullpen, if we look at it right now, if they stay fully healthy, the bullpen is pretty bulletproof, and that is exactly what the Royals want. I mean, when the Royals won in 14 and 15, what was the MO? Get to the sixth inning, because after that, Herrera, Davis, and Holland are coming in, and the game is over. And the Royals right now are kind of shaping up to have a bullpen once again like that. Also, as Gabe said, up in the Northland today, up at Zona Rosa, we're gonna Katie Marr's gonna do a cool story as some Royals players, Carter Jensen and Noah Cameron, are actually helping some kids out with their Christmas wish list. Very cool to see that. And also, one nugget that we did want to get out there: ESPN's Buster Olney did say that some teams have been kind of kicking the tires on Cole Reagans, and the Royals do not want to move him. Cole Reagans, obviously, they signed him last year. He was the opening day starter. They truly believe he is the starting pitcher with the best stuff on the staff. And if he is fully healthy, he can be one of the best starting pitchers in all of baseball. So the Royals still betting on his talent. Obviously, a lot of injury history there, but the Royals not wanting to move on from one of their pitchers with the best stuff out of maybe anyone in their entire organization. So a lot going on here in the world of Kansas City sports. Be sure to tune in at 6 o'clock as we continue to go through Operation Save Arrowhead and the implications that will have. We will also have more coverage online and tomorrow on KC Sports Tonight. But for now, that's a look here on this Friday night. We'll see you guys later. Take care.